Okay, this is week 5, day 3. We're going to talk about using the scanner object to read and store user input. So far we have been just writing programs that print things that we tell it to. But now what we're going to do is we're actually going to ask the user, the person running our program, to give us input, and then we're going to read that input and store it by using the scanner object. And so here's the complete process for using the scanner object for user input. So the first action that needs to happen, or the first thing that we need to make sure that we code in our program, is an import statement that imports what's called the scanner class. The scanner class, a class contains objects that can be used to do particular tasks. We need the scanner class to be able to read input from the user, and so what we do is we import the java.util.scanner class, and that is the scanner, of course, has to be capital because it is a class name. So once we import this, and this, of course, import statement goes above the class header. We just do that, of course, once in the program. And then the next thing is that we have to declare one of the scanner's object, a scanner object here that will allow us to read the input by the user. And so what happens is we type scanner scan. So scanner is the class, and scan is going to be the object. Scan is the identifier, or the name of the object that we're going to use. Now you could, instead of saying scan, you could call it whatever you want. Just like you name a variable or name a class, you can name it input, or you could name it input device, or you could name it reader. It's really up to you. Now we're going to use scan this year, and you can use something different if you'd like, but you have to make sure that once you name it, whatever you name it, you got to use that later on in the program, as you'll see. So scanner scan, the object scan is assigned new scanner, so it's a new object that from the scanner class. And then it has system.in. Now if you remember, the print statements have system.out. It's because that particular one deals with output, what's going to be showing on the screen. Now this is system.in, so this is going to deal with input, reading and storing input, so that's why it's like that. The next thing that has to happen, now this happens here, these two up here happen once in the program, but declaring a variable where input will be stored will happen as many times as needed in the program. So let's say that you're going to write a program where you want to ask the user for their age. So you need to have a place to store that person's age. Now in the past we've gone int age equals, or is assigned 15, and we've determined that the age is 15. But now we don't know if we're going to ask the user their age, because they could be 27, 32, 45, something else. So we're just going to declare the variable. We're not going to initialize it. And by declaring the variable, what we do then is we produce, when the compiler runs, we can produce a memory location whose name is going to be age. And so I'll set that up here. Okay, so here we have the memory location named age, and so now this memory location is waiting. It's empty now, but it's waiting for the user to type their age in the program, and then our scanner object is going to read it and then store it in this memory location. And so as we go on now, at some point, then we're going to prompt the user. You got to prompt the user every time you need something from them. And so if you want them to enter their age, you've got to ask them for it. So we do a print statement. We use a scanner object along with a print statement, a prompt, to get them to enter their age. So what's going to happen is enter your age is going to show up on the screen. Okay, I decided to make this little rectangle here into a screen. So here's the screen. So int age, when it's compiled, we'll put a memory location over here with the name age. The print statement is going to be system.out is going to display enter your age on the screen. Now the user is reading this, and so they go, okay, I need to type my name or my age. And so the next line down, what will happen is the user will type their age. So this is not going to be you. Your coding is going to be a result of the user typing that in. So they type 23, and what happens is over in the age memory location, 23, oh wait, that doesn't happen yet. Right now, the user types 23. Now that's as far as it gets until the compiler goes to the next line of code that we would have on here, and that is this. Age is assigned scan.next int. Alright, so the thing to understand here then is you have to have a place to store the input, and so it's got to be a variable that you have already declared. So here's the variable age that's already been declared. The memory location is set over here, ready to go, and so we are going to store the input in this variable. And then we use the scan object. So as you can see, the scan object that's the name of the object that we named earlier. Now if we had named this object input, then we would want to use the word input here. But we used scan, so we'll go ahead and leave it as scan. So whatever you use up here for the name of the object, you use down here. Now next, int, and with the parentheses, that is a method. And so because it has the parentheses here, and so this method, what it does is it helps to read that particular input. So what happens is this line, when it gets compiled, reads this input by the user and then stores it in here in the memory location. Alright, so this prompt and this line here where we're assigning age, this is going to happen as many times as you want to ask the user for input. So if you want to ask their name, you have to declare a variable for their name, and then do a prompt asking for their name, and then assign the reading of the input to their name. If you want to ask what college they went to, you got to do the same thing. You have to have those three things: the declaration, the prompt, and then where the scanner reads the input and stores it in that variable. Alright, so then the next thing is just to show, we've already been through this kind of thing, but then that input will be called. We'll use the input by the user possibly to display something on the screen later on. So let's just say this is responding back to the user and says you are, and then the age is called, the variable age. So it looks into the memory location and it's looking for AGE with lowercase letters. When it finds it, it says, okay, what is your value? And so it says, oh, I'm 23, and so it puts 23 in here. So on the screen then, it's going to display the output, you are, and then it's going to say 23 instead of age, and then it's going to say years old, and then period. And that's how this interaction will go. So now you can interact with the user by the way you code the program. So let's go on to the last thing. This will just take a second here, and that is that each method requires a different that's not right here. Each data type requires a different method for reading and storing user input. So notice up here we use nextInt. Well, the reason we use nextInt is because the data type of our variable that we're storing the information was an int. And so we are going to ask the user for something that will prompt him to write an int. So if you ask the user for his age, he's not going to type Fred. Okay, so he'll type actually a number. And so the method would be scan.nextInt, which we used, and then we showed that example already here. But now let's say that you're storing maybe a price of something. So you ask the user for, well, what is your hourly wage, or what is the price of the thing that you bought? And so there's going to be cents involved. So you're going to establish you're going to declare a variable that is going to handle a decimal. And when you ask them for the price, then you're probably going to get a decimal, because that's typically what's going to be in an hourly wage or a price. And so you say scan.nextDouble to be able to read it. It won't read the int, it'll read a double. So this is an example. Ticket price is assigned the reading and storing of this particular double that the user inputs. The next thing is a string. If you're going to ask for something that's going to involve words or letters or characters, and you know for sure it's going to be only one word, then you would just use scan.next. That's all you need to use. So example, if you ask for the last name, and let's say we're assuming that everybody's last name is one word, although that's not necessarily true, you would say last name is assigned scan.next. That's it. And they would just type their last name, Smith, and it would be fine. Now, most of the time, you're going to get maybe multiple word answers. So let's say you're going to ask for their full name. Then you're going to use scan.nextLine, because that will accommodate the entire response by the user. So if they say Frank Smith, then it will handle those two words. It will handle as many words as they type on that line. And so you would say full name is assigned scan.nextLine, just like this, capital L, the D is capital, the I is capital here, and so that's how that would work. Okay, this is how we can incorporate interaction between the computer and the user by our coding. And that's it.